Good evening, Super League fans. I thought we would let the music play right until the end then. I wasn't sure how that song was going to end, but it ended pretty much the way it began. So that's nice to know for another time. We're going to try something a little bit different this evening. I won't be introducing any guests or any special pundit or anything like that in the studio because there aren't anyone. There's just me. A couple of late cancellations from people for whatever reason. Fully respect and appreciate that it's a Friday night, and I don't expect anyone to turn up, to be honest. But given that, I did have a couple of offers from people to join, but I thought, no, I do like the sound of my own voice, and so does Palmer. So we'll go with that. And then rather than having a long-winded chat about previous results, etc., then maybe we're going to have a bit of a look at some of the teams and see how they've been performing, and maybe even have a look at some of the players, which I know will please some of you who've been kind of not dying, but dropping subtle hints at seeing how your players are doing, etc. So what we'll do is that we'll start off by looking at the results from last week. So we started off with a bit of a shocker. Arsenal Celtic against Chutley Cannons. It was 0-0. The game itself was poor, terrible, to say the least, with not a lot of action of any kind. Sad when we had such nice people on the show. We had Colin on, obviously, one of our special guests, of course, Fifey as well. Won't forget you, but we did have a special outsider on, and we didn't have a lot to look at in the first game. Nothing, as you can see here. Nothing, as you can see here. I mean, a couple of yellow cards for the Cannons, and that was about it. If we have a look at the player stats, of course, we had to make an early substitution because Bywater was on for some reason. Candela got a 9. He's been quite good for Celtic so far this season. You can see why. He's brilliant stats everywhere. Not great influence, but that's the only one apart from handling. Average, perhaps not as good. He's had a couple of internationals where he's done very well as well for his native Australia. So an important player for Celtic. Who they're missing is obviously someone we might have a look at later, maybe not. Tristan, who's done very, very well. Hussein comes in and he got a bit of a slack. He's not been that effective so far, but he does have 20 acceleration and 20 pace. One of only 6 players in the Super League, I think, to have those stats, and a lot of stamina. So he runs all night, but didn't get much out of it against Chudley, unfortunately for him. Chudley have been relying heavily on a solid defence in the games that they've won, and they're obviously having Mark Kerr coming back from injury. We've got Steve Finnan here, who's been perhaps rightly criticised a little bit, but he has got brilliant performance despite his less than impressive stats. Up front is Rossini. Didn't get much out of it, but we're expecting a lot from him in the Super League, obviously, this time round. So a terrible 0-0, and not much else to say about that one. With regards to Churchtown, Kieran was very interested in seeing some of his players. I'm not entirely sure why. They did a terrible job, especially his goalkeeper against Bolton Phoenix. We look at Oliver Kahn, though. He is by far the best goalkeeper in the league. 20s all over the shop. He has a reasonable average, but perhaps you would have hoped for a little bit, maybe a little bit better. So not sure where the weak point is in his stats. Apparently nowhere, but only 7.25 average. Still good keeper though. I would say the best in the league. Roy Mackay has been so important for him so far, and it was probably a shame that he only got a 6. That's also part of the reason for the poor result. Um, Stats wise, not second to none, but he is very good, and he's had a decent couple of games so far. Tonight he wasn't really on form. Romeo is in. As we know, Churchtown has done a little bit of chopping and changing when it comes to his strikers. Yet to find a winning formation, but we'll see. Not a winning formation, but let's say a very impressive formation. But we'll see how he gets on tonight. For Bolton Phoenix, it was all about Sambrotta getting that 10. I think it's based on some assists or something. Well, at least one assist. Didn't get 2 goals like Figo, but still a better score. So he's got to be happy with that. He had 9 shots, all 9 on target. That's always a good sign. If you look at Sambrotta, he didn't start from the beginning, which is, I mean, if someone wants to speak to Ryan about that, they're more than welcome. There's no reason why Sambrotta isn't playing every single game, and we'll see if he appreciates that from now on. Figo, who's perhaps not the most impressive at times, has really had a good start to his Bolton Phoenix career here. He's got a few goals, played really well, good technique, obviously, as we all know, good flair, and actually chipped in 2 goals here. He had 2 goals previously, so that I think his last 2 games he's got those 4 goals. Had a few assists previously. It's done quite all right. Still struggling to find a striker, but a good result for Bolton there. 3-1, 3-0 winners at Churchtown. Huddleston and Craig and the guys continue their journey towards the top with his 4-1-3-2 that I have to visualize before I say the name every time. Chicago got a goal. He's got 5 and 6. That's pretty good. Can't say fairer than that. His stats aren't, the best, but they're high where they count, and it's Chicago, so we know what that is all about. Landro, he's got a good goalkeeper there, probably one of the best in the league, along with Given so far, average wise. Of course, Craig had a couple of games early on when he conceded a ton of goals for whatever reason, tactical changes, whatever. But yeah, it's all right. I mean, there's no one that stands out. I think it was when Hodgie was on and we spoke about it and said you wouldn't pick any of those midfield players if you had to yourself. But Craig's got them playing really really well. We skipped Jamie for first there because I wanted to speak a little bit about how unfortunate this chap has been. Mark Viduka, he's just not been doing it at all. If a 7 average, shots on target 60%, it's not what you want. A player with these stats, he should be getting goals, definitely. I don't think we'll see Viduka start tonight, but hopefully he will come back for Jamie and get some goals. Apart from that, he's been, it's been strong at the back. There's 7.5s for everyone. Giovanni's been a little bit, I mean, it's interesting to see him playing in various roles. He's been used as an attacking fullback as well. A room for improvement there as well, maybe. Overall, a reasonable sort of defensive performance for most of his players, but no one has really stood out. And of course, the main problem is that Montella and Viduka are really not firing on all cylinders. Robbie Keane back though, which could make all the difference. We were off to Brazil. Hooligans, who some people would have thought would have maybe squeezed a win at home to the Swedish Barcelona, sponsored by the podcast of Half and Half Scarves. But in the end, it was the Swedes that came home victorious. Hooligans did not play as well as they have done in previous games. Ronaldinho with the early goal, but they were unable to build on that. If you're looking at the player ratings, I mean, a reasonably solid performance, but Ronaldo was kept in check by the valiant defense. Um, who else stands out for Hooligans? I mean, David Beckham has chipped in with a couple of assists. We all know his stats. He's a good player. Walter Samuel in defense is being really solid. Gamara is playing that awkward in the middle of the three, so he's obviously going to get rubbish numbers, but he's doing a decent job until Sol Campbell comes back. And Desai as well is doing quite well at the back. He's quite old, to be fair, but still doing reasonably well. But with Gamara as well being 30, maybe that's something that we will see Thiago addressing soon, bringing in a new central defender or two. Who knows? We won't speak too much about transfers in this show tonight. Deco on the bench, could we see him back soon? Who knows? He came in, had a 5. It was terrible, very low morale. We probably don't want to consider that. So Kennedy is playing and doing a sterling job. For Valen United, we probably have one of the players of the league so far. I mean, 813 average. I think Boyer is higher, but Lee Boyer, though, you know what I mean. 8 games, 5 assists, 2 man of the match. His stats are amazing. He'll get 1 or 2 seasons at being probably the best right back in the game. So very, very, very impressive there. Lisa Asu, doing good. He's a good player. I can't remember who his backup is, but it's someone relatively good as well. They played quite centrally in this formation, which is something that Alf has pioneered with his Astra team with Placenta and Zanetti, and it seems to work quite okay for folk. Roy Keane has obviously been the tackler of the season. I point that out regularly. 7.9 average in tackles. He's got 100% shots on targets as well, despite having 14 in long shots. 14 long shots is one of those stats that I don't get. It seems to make no difference to the amount of goals that your players score, whether you set them to long shots or not. If they have 20 or 9 or 6 or 15, you get like 3 a season from long shots if you deliberately go for it, and maybe 2 if you don't. So who knows? Anyway, Roy Keane's done very, very well. Shevchenko, I mean, I know I bang on about him being a disappointment. How can you be a disappointment when you have 8 and your team's playing well? Well, if you only get 2 goals out of Shevchenko in 7 games, then I think you could do better, whether you have all the points or not. You could have more goals for a start. So, Totti is his key man, and he's probably been one of the best performers as well, along with Cafu. Stats are pretty unreal, as most not most, but at least some players in the Super League are. 7.50 average, 4 goals, 2 assists, 2 Man of the Match awards. He's a good player, and Valen will no doubt go from strength to strength with that side if they keep it up. We'll see how they fare tonight. Anyway, Roy Keane apparently back in a correct position, defensive midfield centre. So we shall see. We shall see. Midlothian at home at the Iron Brew Fortress got a great result against Swindon, who didn't put up too much of a fight apart from Roberto Carlos, who based on his 8 managed to squeeze into the highly controversial team of the first third of the league or something equally, I don't know, uh, nice sounding and very catchy. Patrick Kluivert only getting a 5 is probably symptomatic for what's unfortunately been a poor start for the Devils this season. If you're looking at Midlothian's team, Steven Gerrard getting a 9 out on that wing back position that I don't think a lot of people normally see him in. But look at the stats. He can play pretty much anywhere. Good player, Steven Gerrard, and decent performance as well. Eric Addo, who's been doing relatively well on the left back. He is left footed. He is very fast. And he has good stats. So why not play him there? A little bit controversial, unusual, but it's not too bad. 771 done quite well. Kessman, who has to cover for the ever injured Impensa, he has 4 goals and 6, a good average. Not the best stats in the world, but like Sigalko, you just need to keep faith in him, and he will get you goals. Harry Kewell, Gattuso, there's a few. Frank Lampard getting a goal, very nice. Harry Kewell's been not great, but picked it up in the last couple of games. He did have a 4, which is obviously not helping his average. He's got Neil Scally. I keep saying to Ian that as his virtual assistant manager, I don't recommend that he plays Neil Scally. I will show you why. His right-sided stats, like Russell Boys says, is fantastic. That's good for the lower leagues. This here is garbage. Don't play Neil Scally if you can avoid it, please. That's the end of my advice for Ian. Convincing 4-0 victory. It'll be interesting to see if he can start picking up points away from home. Palmer continue his meteoric rise to the top. Dutch guy, his recommendation from Timmy, I think it was, to said sign this guy because he's brilliant. And guess what? He was right. 825 average. He's been instrumental in holding that enormous fat line in front of the one at the rear. So well done, Palmer, for listening to Timmy and picking that player. Cannavaro, you need someone of his quality if you're playing one of the rear. That's pretty much it, isn't it? What else can we say about Palmer? Ebba Sand, my fellow countryman, who's done exceptionally well. I won't sing the song, Palmer. You can see if you can Google it somehow and find it if you want. 6 goals in 8 games, very impressive. We all see how well he does in the Bundesliga. When we don't own him, he always changes for millions from Schalke to Hertha Berlin or Leverkusen or somewhere. And yeah, quite rightly so. Brilliant player, great teamwork. And yeah, you can't go wrong with him. Aston Athletic had a bit of a nightmare, unfortunately for Ariel Ortega. He decided to punch someone in the face. I think we already looked at this and established that it was a direct red. He just happened to have a yellow previously, so it's not a second yellow. He reached into the pocket and showed him a red card. No other controversy around that one. Whoops, let's go back in. Lee Boyer, as I mentioned, probably player of the season in the Super League so far with the 838 average. Sadly now injured for 8 months with a broken leg. So what do we have to do in the chat? Press B or something. I don't know. What is it the kids do in the chat? They have to put like a letter if you're sad for people. So you can say that you're sad for Lee Boyer. Poor little Lee Boyer with his broken 8-month leg, etc. We'll see him back next year, and I'm sure he'll do just fine and recover fantastically well. He does have Juninho Paulista and a bunch of other players that he can play in there. Alf, he has a strong squad, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Although losing your best player on paper is, or on stats rather, is perhaps a little bit disappointing. But a great result for Parma, and Aston need to start picking up some points again. They were doing so well at the beginning of the season. It's dropped off a little bit. Finally, Sloths got their first win. It it took a while for Rob to figure out how to play the game. Presumably, I don't know. Maybe he's not played other people before and just played against the game, the AI, and like myself, struggled immensely to find a tactic that actually works. Seems as if he's improved a little bit now. Buffon still not doing particularly well. I mean, 7-13, 2 6s, 7 6s. This is not Buffon really figures, but his stats are good, so I'm sure he'll come around. It's just a question of getting that defense tightened up a little bit, and he kind of has that now. Obviously, Crespo coming in and starting to score goals is a big thing. 2 goals, 3 assists, very important. Rivaldo is also had 2 goals. Perhaps disappointing that he didn't have any assists, but to be fair, Slots haven't had a lot of goals at all. Brosek with 2 and Simeone with 1, and I think Balag is the last one that scored for him, and he's there. He scored a penalty early on. B-Tech are really struggling to find any kind of form, unfortunately. Although Palermo did come in and score a goal, he should perhaps have been playing from the start. But Ian's the boss, so he decides. He does have Constantino. I guess his stats are okay, but he doesn't play that well, unfortunately. Mark Vivian Foe. Less said about his performance, the better probably. He got a 5. Vogel, who has now 6.25 average over 8 games. He surely cannot keep being played. We'll see what comes out of it. Kieran Dyer, I think, is on the bench, but he has very good stats, so that's perhaps a shame for Kieran. But and he has a good average, so let's see. Good morale as well. Well, maybe we'll see him tonight. And that kind of rounds that up. No real big surprises, I think. I mean, Slots getting the win, was it a big surprise? I'm not too sure. Palmer has been doing so well, maybe not a big surprise. Bolton putting 3 past Churchtown was probably the surprise of the evening for me. But overall, it was a good round. It was a good round. Quickly looking at the table, I'm gonna have to have a drink because my throat is giving up already, and we're 18 minutes in. That's not a good sign. Looking at the table, we've got the Hornets on top. We've got Astor right behind them, Val and Panathinaikos, Hooligans and Midlothian making up the top 6. Midlothian and Hornets, 2 teams that are yet to draw. Interesting. Much like BTEX and Dragon Destroyers. Let's see if there'll be any changes to that. We seem to have lost the losing away from home kind of thing that we had going on in the beginning. However, draws are still kind of few and far between. So I don't know if people have changed the tactics or what's going on here, or if it's just the quality of the players that are telling so much in either direction. Can Swindon pick up some points tonight? Can Sloths continue to pick up points? They could go past Dragons if they do, and Dragons don't pick up anything. And what about the top? It's all to play for. 3 points separating Chudley Cannons in 8th and Astor Athletic in 2nd. So there's really a lot to look forward to this evening. And we'll try and have a little bit more of a look at the players during the games if anything interesting happens, but we'll see how it goes. The fixtures are as follows: Ardsley against Midlothian, Astor against Ballon, Bolton against Swindon, Chudley Cannons against Hoddesdon, Churchtown against Hooligans, Dragons against BTEC, and Panathinaikos against the Sloths. Sloths are last on. Was that the same as last week? Either way, I will try and mix it up one day, but now that I think I've got the hang of how to do it in order, I'm just going to take them from the top. So if we start with Ardsley Celtic at home to Midlothian, we'll have a look at the squad here. You can see Vieira is a little bit unhappy. Can't reveal why. It's just something that is not that's not quite right there, but he'll be fine, I'm sure. If we look at the Midlothian squad, they've got lots of unhappy people. Again, that has to do with transfer rumors, I think. I'm sure Ian will make sure will get his squad happy again. It's only a matter of time, I think. But obviously, we'll see if morale affects it. It's something that I do send out to you guys, the morale and the form. If you look at the morale, I sometimes don't really think that everyone looks at it because you see players playing exceptionally bad and they have terrible morale and poor fitness, etc. But it's your squad, you pick them, so you decide how it goes. I'm not sure what to expect from this one. Hopefully for Ian, he can start picking up points away from home, and hopefully for Hachi, he can start picking up points or wins in general. It's not been the best start for Ardsley. They have a good squad, and they won the Vieira lottery, which Fife and everyone else put a lot of effort into. So I think it's time that he starts repaying Mosseli and all the other guys involved with a bit of a better run of results here. So 20 minutes in, let's see how the first game goes. We've got Ardsley at home to Midlothian, and we're refereed by Mark Shield. I can't remember how he stands up in the card. Oh, I missed that almost. It was Claudio Lopez, and it was disallowed. So a good start for Ardsley, although it does look as if Midlothian have had a fair bit of the ball. Not enough to keep Stankovic away, though. And not enough to keep Riquelme. I think that was a direct free kick. So Ian continuing his less than ideal away form. We'll see if we can have anything else before halftime. Would appear not. Trying the commentator's curse. Montero with a good tackle there. Stankovic. Stankovic's been very much about the place in the first half. We've not seen too much of Stankovic so far this season. Let's have a look how they stack up the numbers. John Terry and Martin Lawson, maybe they haven't had anything to do. No, they haven't. Well, no one has had anything to do in this game really, apart from the keeper picking the ball out of the net a couple of times. Stankovic only recently found his way into the side. Quite impressive stats, but maybe nothing unusual. But he certainly had a decent start to this game. Riquelme, who's been firing on absolutely none of his cylinders so far. So that's probably something that'll please Hodgie, that he's got off with a goal here. I think it was a direct free kick. I will check super quick. Yeah, Riquelme fired in the free kick. That's maybe the game can pick your free kick takers for you, but just think of the satisfaction of you choosing the free kick taker and him scoring the goal. And then you won't have Chelsea-like interviews where you have to defend your penalty takers and all your decisions and blame the chairman, etc. So pick your takers. It'll give you small hint of satisfaction, I'm sure. If we look at Midlothian, Shay Given, who was chosen for team of the not quarter. What's the other word? Anyway, the first 8 or 9 games, not played well. Gerard not played well. Let's have a look at the tactics. I think it was kind of the same as he played last time out, with a slightly unfortunate name, but yeah, we will see. I think I have to sub one of his players. We'll see if I can remember which one. I think it's a defender on a yellow card. There we go. If it wasn't, then John Terry, Martin Lawson not doing particularly well. Claudio Lopez on a yellow. Tactics are the same as last week, if I remember rightly, with the shortened arrows. He had the long runs. He took them off because it didn't work. But it's working out better this time. Certainly better than last week when he played the Cannons, wasn't it? And that 0-0. Second half is well underway. No sign of Melodian getting back into it. The chances are really coming Ardsley's way. Rocky Jr., I saw him. Hussein maybe using his famous pace, one of the 6 fastest players in the Super League, as we have already established. Nothing really coming the other way still for Midlothian. Struggling with the absence of Impensa, probably. That's not a good situation to be in. Probably he'll be back next week, but it's kind of now that he needs him. Nope, that peters out in the end. 3-0 victory for a 9. What? He saved 4 shots. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll give Santiago Canizares that. He's really worked his way into the side. I think Rooster played some games previously, if I'm not much mistaken. Yeah, which was a terrible idea. Canizares is clearly the better keeper. So a solid 9 for him there, keeping a clean sheet. Hodgie will be happy with that. Patrick Vieira, did he get a million tackles? No, he got 5 tackles. I want to see Roy Keane numbers from him, not this rubbish. Hussein scored, which is good. Claudio Lopez was terrible for Sloss last season. He's got wonderful stats, but 2 assists. Fair enough. I'm sure he won't use him for that long. We'll see. Midlothian, there's a bunch of 6s, a bunch of yellow cards. Frank Lampard, there's nothing to write home about. If Harry Kewell playing one of your front players, I mean his stats are brilliant, but 686, he's not. Some strengthening needing to be done there, I think, from Midlothian side. So overall, fairly decent game. Ardsley with a relatively easy win thanks to a poor goalkeeping performance. Still get a 6 even though he let 3 out of 4 in. Oh well, never mind. But a decent start to the evening. A good solid 3-0 win for Ardsley Celtic. And yeah, they'll be happy with that. And Ian, unfortunately, will probably not be surprised that he's lost away from home again. But he'll get plenty of opportunity to make up for it. And he's got 5 home wins. So what's not to like, apart from the away results? If we move on then to Astor Athletic, see if I'm doing this right. Yep, here we go. We're looking at Astor's squad. Of course, Ortega suspended and Boya injured, as already covered. There's a couple of wanted players, unhappy players, some transfer rumours probably. Going with a similar tactic, Del Piero's back, Brooking is back, Nicola and Smith up. Emerson is in that central midfield role, so no huge surprises from Alf there. Let's go for this one. And here we've got some other unhappy players. I'm not entirely sure why. You can maybe try and guess for yourself if you want to figure it out. Peruzzi's probably unhappy because he's not playing, but who wouldn't be in this league? I'm surprised there's not more unhappy players actually, but we'll have a look later on and see if that changes as the season goes on. Quick look again at Alf's tactics. Materazzi's back. I'm not entirely sure why, but he is. So that's perhaps positive. Valen in a very tasty away kit, the purple and white here, or is that purple? Probably lilac or violet, something like that. Anyway, sticking with the same formation, Cafu is in there. Sorin takes the place of Lisa Rasu. Apart from that, I think it's pretty much the same. Obviously, with Keane in his correct position and some other people in midfield, Nakata on the bench, and Saha, who we might see. Saha's an interesting one. I would like to see him play more often, but that's just me, and people might prefer strikers instead of forwards. We'll kick it off and we'll see what the Swedes can do here. Can they continue the good run of form, or will Alf get back into the 3-point collection game that he was so good at the start of the season? Will Shevchenko get a goal, more importantly? And will Lefteropoulos do something spectacular in goal? Or will it be 0-0? Let's hope not. Stuart Lockery, the referee here. Was there a penalty decision turned down there? I think at about 37 minutes. That's something we probably have to check. We do have to check the refereeing decisions when Val and United are playing. It's often controversial under their circumstances. Let's see what's coming up here. Flying over the bar. Emerson pushed Saviola. Free kick to Val and United. So he's lined up with a free kick. Nah, nothing spectacular. I thought there might have been a penalty claim turned down or something like that, but it seems as if it was relatively legit. Everyone got in a 7, so that's always something, I guess. I'm not really sure what to make of that, to be honest. A little bit more of a spread over on the Valen United side. I mean, he's got good success with those two wing backs playing in the center. They're keeping Astor from scoring, which was a problem for many people earlier on this season. I think there are some instructions from Andreas at halftime. I will try and double check because I did put them somewhere. So if you bear with me a second, then I will hopefully be able to see what that is. But again, Shevchenko has not scored. I mean, he's not my player, but it's something that you can't be too happy with. In the end, no, it was only if he was losing I had to do something, and he's drawing, so it's all good. We'll continue the second half. Valen still to have a register shot on target, so goodness knows how Bartes gets a 7, but that's how the numbers are dished out. Let's see if we can get a little bit more action in the second half. I mean, there's a lot of flashing text, but it's not really converted into chances, I think. I think when we see the goalkeepers, it's mainly because they're taking goal kicks rather than them making actual saves. But with all this flashing, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen a goal yet. Alan Smith with a chance, Totti with a chance, Totti with a long shot, some free kicks. Will we see a late penalty? Will Colin phone his mom? Perhaps not. 20 minutes left, so she got to hurry up. Good friends with Steve Lockery, Colin's mom, apparently. Platonic, clearly, but nonetheless. It's a 0-0. It's a 0-0. I mean, they promised guts and glory and yellow cards and action and free kick, and Materazzi got a 6 and a yellow. Slightly worse in the second half than in the first. Valen really, I mean, their second half performances is like night and day, isn't it? They had nothing against slots in the first half either, and now they're flying in the second half. Some good fitness management, but some poor everything else management, apparently. A ton of yellow cards, which is at this time of season, maybe it doesn't really matter so much. There's not going to be so many suspensions. Roy Keane, look, Roy Keane, 15 tackles. That's what you want. 11 of them won. He is a tackling monster, and he prevented Astro Athletic from getting any chances, any goals. But yeah, I mean, Super Narrow against Super Narrow. There's lots of chances. Why didn't they score? They're good teams. I'm lost for words. Farter's getting a 9, Eleftheropoulos an 8, Eleftheropoulos getting an 8. Cafu did exceptionally well again. That's probably going to take him over Boyer in the average stakes. just maybe, or maybe next week. Poor performance from the front three. Back to the drawing board for Val and for that. But they'll probably take a point away from home. If it wasn't for Alves' recent performances, not going so well, then I think they would have been more than happy with the point. Perhaps considering the form of the Asta side, they would have liked to win, but we'll see. And Asta should be happy to keep a clean sheet after their recent results. So maybe a half decent result for both teams. Sadly, not a lot for the rest of it, for the rest of us. But that's how it goes with the 0-0 games. They've got to happen occasionally. We didn't have many in the beginning, so we will maybe start to see some of them now as teams start to settle down and just be better. Next up, we are not going to Panathinaikos. We are going to Bolton Phoenix. Again, some squad unhappiness. Nick Matulian is a little bit sad. Fowler is wanted. He's not even on the bench tonight, so maybe there'll be someone who'll pick him up at some point. Swindon Devils, they're trying something new today. They've not got any unhappy players, really. I mean, say Roberto, but that's it. Kluivert, who's playing AMC, and I think it's right, actually. So we'll see how that goes. If you're surprised, then tell me that you're surprised. I'm sure you are. I don't really have time to read the chat, unfortunately. So all your comments are between yourselves. Let's have a look. Bolton Phoenix have gone with exactly the same formation they had last time out. I can't remember if there's any real changes here. I think Shearer didn't start the last one. Maybe it was the other way around. Or maybe it is exactly the same and just Henri instead of Fowler on the bench. Either way, he had great success with this, obviously getting the result against Kieran. So he's continuing with that, and why not? Swindon Devils. It's kind of similar, but with a few more defenders and with Kluivert as an attacking midfielder and say Roberto as an attacking midfielder. I, we'll see how it goes. Danny Mills doesn't play, so that's always something, I guess. Pancaro, who's been doing quite well so far this season, actually. Oh no, he hasn't. Pancaro, whose stats would suggest that he would do quite well, but he hasn't, unfortunately. Starts. Roberto Carlos, who did so well, he got an 8 last week, starts as well. Mendes is in. As you can see, Mendes is a half decent performer, stats wise anyway, and he got a 7, so can't be too unhappy with that. We'll kick it off and see how it goes. I will say that I'm unconvinced about Sir Roberto and Kluivert's roles, but I could be proven completely wrong. And Costanzo's a good goalkeeper, so who knows? But Dede has been very strong for Bolton Phoenix so far this season, and if he gets space down the left, then obviously that's going to cause problems for the Devils. But this could be their night. This could be their night. Say Roberto with a couple of runs with the ball. Roberto Carlos. Yeah, Bolton have not had it all their own way in the first half for sure. So there's a distinct improvement from the Swindon side, I would say here. It's obviously still it's a long game, yeah. So let's not get carried away. But it's 0-0 at half time. If they'd hit the target, maybe. If they'd hit the target, then that would have been good. Patrick Kluivert, perhaps a little bit selfishly, he could have maybe played Simone Inzaghi in on a couple of occasions, but chose not to. That's fair enough. Let's see if it pays off for him to be so selfish in the second half. No one on a 5, so they all get to stay on. Solid at the back. Neville and Henshaw doing quite well. Sinoni doing okay. I'd expected more from Dede. He had a shot. Veron as well, maybe. I'll do the usual non-scoring striker substitution for Bolton. Oh, that's wrong, actually. It's this guy, isn't it? And he swaps with Raul. Good job, I have such wonderful memory. Sambrata, who I've praised to the stars before the game, obviously getting a 6, so that's fine. Let's see what the second half will bring. There wasn't a lot in it. Again, a lot of flashing, but not a lot of chances. We can't have 2 0-0 games. That's not going to work. Oh, that's a tricky one. I have to make decisions now, don't I? Sinoni can't play up there. Does he have a DML person here at all? Or Sambrata can play both sides, can't he? Yeah, exactly. So Tudor comes in. Where do we go? There, and Sambrata goes to the other side. Everybody's happy. Let's see how that impacts the rest of the half. Let's see if Raul can score. Oh, that was Figo. Fair enough. I was going to say, let's see if Raul can score because I don't see him as a sole striker, but those were the instructions from Ryan to put him up there if Shearer hadn't scored in the first half. I think he'll be looking for a striker. If anyone wants to sell a good striker, then give Ryan a shout because he clearly he clearly doesn't like any of the ones he's got. Um, could Swindon come back in it? They've had chances. It could be 1-1, or it could be 2-0 to Bolton. Clearly, that's also an option. Clover offside. And it ends 2-0 to Bolton. Yeah, nothing changed in the second half. The second half was exactly the same as the first one, apart from the fact that Bolton scored on their chances and Swindon continued to not hit the goal, which is unfortunate. Kluivert didn't have any shots in the second half. So Roberto doesn't like to play as an attacking midfield center kind of person, apparently. Mendes did well, got an 8. I think Swindon will be happy they've got him in defence now. That's at least making steps in the right direction to get that side of things sort of shored up a little bit more. Matt Holland, the captain, got a 7, not the worst either. Overall, half decent performance. If they'd converted one of the chances in the first half or early in the second, I think it could have been a different game. But unfortunately, it's a 2-0 defeat for Swindon. However, considering Bolton's current form, I don't think that's a disaster. Bolton have been going very strong, and this formation has worked out really well as we see the stats here. Not dissimilar to what he had at Churchtown last time out. Very, very strong. Gary Neville going from strength to strength in that central defensive role. A ton of passes as well. Plenty of tackles. Very, very solid. Very difficult to get past. Should perhaps consider 2 strikers or more attacking midfielders. Was a little bit heavy at the back, but I appreciate that 5 he didn't want to continue to concede a ton of goals. Figo? Who's getting Figo to score all these goals? How is he even scoring them? Is it free kicks? Does he run with the ball? What's happening here? Figo took control of the loose ball. Nothing interesting. Sambrata floated it in. Barong scored. So good job. I did talk up Sambrata. Clearly he likes it on the left better. It's just Ryan that wasn't sure how to use him. That's fair enough. He'll learn. But don't not play Sambrata, Ryan. Please. You need him. You need him all the time. Good result for Bolton. Not so good result for Swindon, but better than a lot of their recent results. I think is a fair summary of this one. Moving swiftly on, we have Charlie Cannons, I think is the next one. Mr. Theo Christopher, who unfortunately couldn't join us on co-coms. I think it's a toothache that he's suffering from, which is not pleasant. So wouldn't wish that on anyone. Lucky for him, all his players are fantastically happy. He has created a paradise of joy and happiness by showing them all Harry Potter movies on repeat or something like that. Anyway, whatever he's doing is working because they are all delightfully happy. Ibrahimovic is on the bench. I think that was his only change from Kutasov. I think was the one he had last week. Does Craig make any changes? I think Craig does because he has players that come back from injury. He has Makalele back, but he doesn't play him. Dunn is back though, which is good. Etu, why is Etu not playing? Give the boy a chance. He's decent. I know the other two can start, but I would like to see Samuel Eto'o play a little bit, but maybe that's just me. In defence, he's still waiting for Southgate. Donny, who did so well in the beginning, is still injured. I think he had like some different tactics when Donny was playing. Amoroso is injured as well, maybe less of a big issue. This could be a difficult one for both sides. Chudley are starting to get back into some form, and Craig's side is really, I mean, they're top of the league. What else can you say? He's done very, very well so far. We have Dunn, Scholes, Lundberg, El Guerra, Batistuta, Tigalco. I mean, you look at those front two and you're thinking, wow, what a striking sensation. And you look at the midfield and you go, what? Even El Guerra. But he's been a beast. I mean, he's done 729. Beast is a strong word, but he's been very important anyway. I'd still play Makalele, but there you go. Babayaro, done well, 725. He's got a fair bit of a tune out of him. Sanyol has done quite well as well. 3 assists. Perhaps not the best average, but 3 assists is 3 assists. Batistuta, I think he had 1 goal where he scored a ton of goals, maybe 3 or something, which is what keeps him out in front. But 788 is still a good average. If we're looking at Chudley's formation, it's back to the old familiar one. Mark Kerr's back from injury. He's playing slightly further forward. We'll see how that goes. But Gallardo has not been overly impressive and only got a 7 last time out. So I think that's why he's gone with that. And he needs to play Van Bommel because it's his captain and he's brilliant. So I think that's why he's gone from him. Westerveld still plays. He's got 750 average. He's only conceded 4 goals in 6 games. So it's hard to argue that Frey should play when he has conceded 7 in 2. Anyway, we'll kick it off. I'll have another drink and we'll see if the first half brings us some goals. We've been lacking a little bit of goals in the first half so far. I saw Steve Finnan. That means good things are about to happen. And Romedal. Not a huge fan of the Danish players in this game, which is perhaps slightly unpatriotic of me. Oh, that's Batistuta with his 9th of the season, keeping his goal a game average up, doing very well. Huddeston hard to break down. I was saying I wasn't a fan of Danish players. Let's see if Romedal, well, he's got a 6, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened with Timmy's formation and his tactics. It was going very, very well in the beginning. He was grinding out results, getting a couple of good wins. Mark Kerr, maybe not doing as well as he could up there, but it's also difficult to play against this Hoddesdon side because they are incredibly compact at the back. They have a bunch of really solid players. Sigalko getting a 6. That's disappointing. They have a bunch of really good, really strong players, so it's difficult to get through Lucio and Kufu, I think. Teamwork, technique, strength, 17. Was that him? Kufu. Yeah. I mean, they are strong at the back. They have strong players. They're difficult to get through. So perhaps that's what Timmy's struggling with. Very similar though. 4-3, 4-2 with when it comes to shots and when it comes to shots being on target. Action zones we already looked at briefly. Player ratings were the way they were. The Chudley Cannon stats. Rossini has had a couple of chances, just a question of putting one of them away and it would have been a draw. Not a huge amount of passing going on. And certainly not a huge amount of passing. I mean, the wide players for Hornets, I hardly seen any of the ball, but they're still getting fairly good ratings, so I'm not entirely sure what that is from. But at least Babayaro got his assist. That's always good. You got him out there crossing 16 into Batistuta with his 19 finishing, and then you've got a good recipe for getting some goals. Let's see if it continues in the second half. Still all to play for. Charlie with a good opportunity to get back in. Certainly, they can definitely improve, and they do have the players to do that. But Hoddesdon are dangerous. They are top of the table. But we see Rossini, who's back in the Super League. Oh, and this is going to be interesting now. I think that Neil Clement, what? I think that executive decision is that we're going to try and keep the draw. So we'll play for that. That's unfortunate. Lucia sent off. Is there a penalty? Did anyone see that? Or it'll probably come up now. Timmy's joining us just in time, I think. There wasn't a penalty, so it was something else that happened. Let's see if Chudley can take advantage of this, or if the chairman's tactical decision to try and keep it tight at the back for Hornets will work out, or if absolutely nothing will happen, which is the most likely option, obviously. With just 8 minutes to go, Chudley Cannon still piling on the pressure, but absolutely nothing. Huddeston hold out with the 10 men. Let's see what happened there. If there's any kind of controversy, it looked like a harsh decision. That's something else. Oh, Lockery gave Chudley Cannons. Have Stuart Lockery not already refereed a game this evening? Did he not referee the first one? Anyway, Liberani lined up the free kick. Looked like a harsh decision. Free kick. Finnan pushed by Lucio, and a red card for that. Sub. What are we subbing? I can't remember what I'm subbing, Tim. I'm trying to do this by myself. Apologies if I missed something. Rossini did really, really well. Batistuta, less well in the second half. Would have perhaps expected a little bit more from him. That's all there is to it, really. Rossini got a 10, man of the match. Everything is fine. Nothing to worry about. And a 1-1 result, a 1-1 draw, which is perhaps not the best result for Chudley, considering that they played 25 minutes against the 10 men of Hornets. Hornets perhaps happy enough with getting the draw out of this one. We'll see at the end how that affects the league table. Stats-wise, 9-8, completely dominant performance from Chudley Cannons in the second half. Done very, very well there. And yeah, not much else to say. Hoddesdon didn't have much to play for, and of course with the guys at the back holding the line rather than playing with 2 up front, then they rescued a point from that one. 4 games down and 15 minutes to go. If I'm going to keep it under an hour, we'll see if it's possible. It makes a difference to not have a co-commentator. I can see the chat. I've done something wrong, but I'm sure that I'll be reminded of it later on. Halftime instructions when when you're doing this by yourself and trying to avoid long silences was perhaps not the best idea, but last minute changes and all that. We don't have dragons yet, do we? We don't. We have Churchtown. Hello to Kieran, wherever you are and whatever time it is in New Zealand. I think that's where you are anyway. Churchtown welcome hooligans. Churchtown will be looking for a slightly better result than they had last time out. Maria unhappy, so now you all know that. He's got Edgar Davids injured, obviously. Barry Ferguson injured. Just wait until they come back. Churchtown will be much more of a force to be reckoned with, apparently, or so I've heard. Hooligans, yeah, Campbell out, Mendieta out, Elber out, Salas out. Will they continue? Anelka's unhappy. I don't know if anyone's surprised at that. I think you all saw the picture that that Thiago shared earlier. He's sticking with his formation and he's putting Aselius and Kennedy in those two roles. Defoe has to get a squad number so he can join us on the bench because Elba's injured. Kieran with, I think, his original tactic is called Kieran 1, so it's likely to be his original tactic or something similar to it. Robin in that attacking midfield role after Mackay's not so great performance last time out, Van Nistelrooy and Larsson up front. And for hooligans, as we already talked about, Kennedy's into that midfield. Elias is there. Has Ronaldinho done particularly well? Yeah, 8 games, 4 goals. He has done quite well. I was a little bit surprised to see him in Fifey's team, but he has done quite well in that attacking midfielder role. Ronaldo done very well as well. Nicholas Anelka 7.22, good average, and he's not so unhappy. So well done, Thiago, for keeping him under control. Uh, let's kick it off and see what happens. Hopefully there could be some first half goals in this one. There's certainly two very, very strong side. Van Nistelrooy, who's been getting a lot of stick for not scoring, scores. Ronaldinho, who we just spoke about, equalizes. So this is where all the action is going to happen. It's going to make up for all those nil-nils first halves that we've had, or low-scoring first halves. Although having said that, nothing has happened since. Jeremy's still playing. I think when Davids is back, that'll be the end of that. Estebaria on the wing. Robin trying to be creative. He's still, of course, very young in this game, Robin, but doing relatively well. So quite an entertaining first half from a neutral's perspective. I thought perhaps. I thought there were more chances, but there we go. That's what there was. Van Nistelrooy getting an 8. He scored a goal, so that's good for him. Thuram only getting a 6. Robin also only getting a 6. They've got time to improve in the second half, I think. Better than the performance against Bolton anyway, so far. Only 20% in their area, so a relatively strong defensive performance for Churchtown. I thought we might see him use the quite unusual tactic that he used against Alf, but because the half track and the narrow formation of hooligans, but not the case. Not the case. And this, for the people with a little bit of OCD and these kind of things, look how the names just disappears behind the numbers. That'll annoy you for the rest of the game if it wasn't already. Hooligan stats. David Beckham getting a 5. I told you, 8 weeks in a row, I don't like David Beckham. Nothing against him personally. I just don't particularly rate him as a player or in the game, and he's living down to expectations. But we saw Sambrata turning around from a 5 to a good score and having a good second half. Maybe the same can happen for Beckham. Ronaldinho doing well. He's on a yellow though. Ronaldo with his 6. That's the second game in a row. Perhaps a little bit on below expectations there, but we'll see what happens in the second half. There's still all to play for, and still a lot of room for improvement for both sides. Good for Churchtown to get a goal for Van Nistelrooy, though. I think he'll be quite happy with that. It's not been the best season for Van Nistelrooy so far. A lot of the chances for Churchtown here in the second half. It looks as if they're improving on their first half performance, but hooligans are always dangerous with that very, very strong front line. Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, you know that's going to be trouble, or it could be trouble anyway. Anelka, perhaps. Desai with a last-ditch tackle or something to that effect anyway. Walter Samuel with a good chance. A couple of good chances for hooligans here at the end, but it stays 1-1. Lots more chances for Churchtown in the second half. Hooligans with a frighteningly low number of shots on target. Only 2 out of 11. That is relatively terrible. It was all the good players that just didn't deliver. I think Hooligans could have done a little bit better tonight if perhaps their front three had been a little bit more on point with their finishing. That's a shame for Hooligans. They had a chance here to get something from this game. But as we saw last week, you need to take your chances. That's what Bolton did. They scored 3 against Kieran, and here that's not worked out for Hooligans in the same way. Interesting stat here. Elias attempted 7 tackles and won 0 of them. Much better in the air, Elias. I wouldn't have thought so, but yeah, there we go. Strange things happen occasionally in this game. Sorochinski doing quite well for Churchtown here. I mean, they're keeping a strong back line. Maybe that's why they limited them to shots from distance, and that's why there were so few. But, shots from distance, is that an excuse to not hit the target just because you're shooting from further away? I don't think so. But at least Van Nistelrooy did well. That's a 9 and a goal. So Kieran's going to be probably happy with that. Again, it's two of the kind of top ranked teams that are playing each other. Are they both going to be happy with a draw? We saw it last with Chutley and with Hoddesdon. There's a draw there as well. It's going to be good for the teams slightly lower down, maybe, that they can catch up if the draws continue like this in the top. In the last 2 games we've got coming up, we've got 3 teams from the bottom and 1 from the top. Kind of countdowny issue with whoever it is that's doing the number thing now. First up, we've got Dragon Destroyers, and they're at home to BTEC. This is Dragon's chance to get back into it. As you can see, Viduka's on the bench. Jamie's obviously had enough of 8 games, no goals from the Australian, who, according to Hodgie, doesn't jump even to head the ball. He just kind of stands there, and I don't know if he just like has some kind of, remember Inspector Gadget and Go Gadget neck or whatever. Maybe that's what's going on for Viduka. I'm not sure. I digress. Talking to myself for 53 minutes has that effect. BTEC, let's have a look at their tactic. Kind of similar, not huge changes. I think what Ian's trying to do is trying to get results by tweaking his tactics rather than doing sort of wholesale changes. Delighted to see Kieran Dyer back in the squad. He's got brilliant stats and he has been doing very well for him, so that's good. Danielson, Agahova. Danielson, who's also been quite good. I thought perhaps better than Ronaldinho, but maybe. He's done well anyway. Done well. Palermo on top. Agahawa. Still young, but great stats. Saeed is in there, who's been terrible. It's Vogel, and he's not even playing, so that was good. Did we look at him in the beginning? I think he has like 625 average after 8 games or something. Horrendous. Christian Chivu, a little bit disappointing with his average. He's still very young, but he is probably one of the best defender left centers in the game, if there's such a thing, if there's such an award. Ashley Cole is playing. He has young players here. Cordoba bringing a little bit of experience, but perhaps not the best performance so far to proceedings. Simon Davies, he had a great game. He had a game with a goal and an assist and an 8. So Ian should be happy with that. Very similar formation that we've got here for the Dragons, with two attackers instead of 2 AMCs. So he's gone for Cisa and Montella up front, and Robbie Keane is back. Last time Robbie Keane played in this position, he scored 3 goals in a 3-0 win for the Dragon Destroyers. So I think that Jamie will probably be hoping for something of a repeat of that performance. He's put Kaladze out there, plays Vampeta, the who we all know about, and his whatever it is, there's some kind of picture. Please don't send it to anyone, Thiago. Vampeta's playing, so that's going to please some people. We'll see if it has the desired effect for the Dragons. This is a good opportunity for them, I think, because BTEC are yet to really find their stride, despite having a very good squad. But let's see what happens. Good early chances for BTEC, and Keane already getting involved. So we'll let it run in silence. Oh, Palermo scores. That's good. For BTEC, if only Dragon Destroyers had a striker with a similar nose for goal. Rustico getting stuck in. You get the feeling that he's kind of fighting the whole world by himself at the back for Dragon Destroyers at the moment. There's the goal from Keane. There is that man that Jamie's been waiting for to come back into action and actually do some damage. Robbie Keane, 3 shots, 2 on target. He gets the goal. Montella and Caesar's been playing well. Caesar gets the assist for the Keane goal. Siemens and Rustico, It's a shame. It's a shame. I don't know what's happening here. There seems to be always someone letting the side down for the Dragon Destroyers. I'm not sure what it is. They seem to have good squad morale. There's nothing really that stands out there, but there's always one guy that's just, screwing things up a little bit. With regards to BTEC, performance not been that strong. Contra done okay, got the assist. Palermo obviously getting the goal, which is better than could be said for some of his previous strikers, such as Filippo Inzaghi, who played 5 and got 3 assists to show for it. Look at the stats. Why is he not scoring? I don't know. He's also a quick one, yeah, 2020, like Hussein, one of the fast ones, but not getting anything out of it. With regards to the number of chances, again, unlucky. It's just when does it stop being unlucky for Jamie to have these results? I'm not entirely sure. His squad are doing well. Peter have 1 shot on target. They score. It probably wasn't even. Was it a fluke? No, it was a cross and a header. That's fine. Look at Caesar there. Caesar nutmeg Dyer. Continue with the ball. Advance. I don't know. I thought he was dribbling past players. He's not. He's just running. Found Keane and superb team move to finish that one off. We'll see what happens in the second half. Um, it would be nice to have someone to ask predictions. We'll see what happens. I was going to say I think Keane will score again. He did. I won't say unstoppable, but because he had games where he didn't score, obviously. But I think that's 5 for him now. So that's going to be, I mean, very, very important. Oh, another player that's going to be very important. It's the battle of the only goal scorers for two sides. Oh, Danielson in there now as well. 3-2 for BTEC. NDI with 3. This is a good second half. There's goals all over the place. Can Vampeta get one? Will that be too much to ask for? Will we see a Vampeta goal? No, we see an injury to a guy here. He doesn't have a bunch of options, Ian, does he, on this one? Inzaghi is super fast. He can play that no problem. For the last 13 minutes anyway. NDI with the goal. Will Palermo get one? But it should be Danielson now to even it up. Danielson should have another one technically. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. It's 4-3 for the Dragon Destroyers. Jamie gets back in. This is so far definitely the game of the evening. Let's have a look at the stats for the players. Van der Meijde, who would have thought it with 2 assists? Van der Meijde, I think he played him out on he played him out on the right wing back. He did a brilliant job out there. He got a 9 and 2 assists. Ndiaye came forward with a couple of headers, I think it was, and got 2 goals himself. Very, very good for that. Very good value for that. And Montella and Caesar both provided assists. What is it? What is it with with Jamie strikers and blatantly refusing to score goals? At least he has Robbie Keane back. If he can get 2 goals a game from Robbie Keane, that's him up to 5 goals in 5 games. So great performance for him, and I think Jamie will be pleased with that result. Someone who won't be pleased is Mr. Edwards, who's, I mean, it's a good job he has due to his career or his hobby. He has extensive drawing board experience because he's going to need it. Martin Palermo with 2 goals, Dennison with 1. I mean, they're doing okay, aren't they? It's just a problem that they're letting in so many goals. Did have a brief chat to Ian about the quality of his goalkeepers because they haven't got any quality. So maybe he should perhaps think to address that in the transfer window. As it's been such an exciting game, let's have a quick look at what happened in the second half. There was a bunch of goals in the second half. It was 1-1 at half time, I think. Keane, yeah, here we are. Second half, Keane did a lot. Keane did something else. Keane couldn't be stopped, basically. He just ran the whole way and scored a goal. Danielson set up Palermo in the area. Palermo got free in the penalty area, scored. So that's Danielson doing particularly great Danielson things. Danielson doing it again for BTEC. We were thinking, oh, is it going to be terrible for the Dragon Destroyers? But no, Van der Meijde took things into his own hand and started sending in the crosses. 2 crosses into Ndiaye in the box. Ndiaye scored both of them. And in the end, that got the 4-3 win for Dragon Destroyers. Yeah, 20 jumping, you see? It's not all about the 15 heading, it's also about the 20 jumping. Who would have predicted that the match winner would be Asane Ndiaye for the Dragon Destroyers? Very impressive player, and glad to see him finally getting some results out of him. result of the night so far, and Dragon Destroyers have done really, really well here to get a 4-3 result against BTEC. And sadly for Ian, that means that there's going to be some busy times at that drawing board. We'll see what the does for the league table after the last game. Last game of the evening, Panathinaikos. So you've been waiting patiently, Joe. I hope the pain is not too excruciating at the moment. We'll, I'm sure we'll hear all the details of the passing of the stone, etc. Apologies if I'm sharing your personal medical information here, but that's how it goes. Can Panathinaikos do it against the Sloth? That's what we all want to know. Was there anything to notice on his squad? I'm not sure. Everything is hunky-dory at the Sloths. Idyllic, everybody happy. Simeone is wanted, but he scored a goal last time out, didn't he? So he's not going to go anywhere or be too unhappy. Buffon, perhaps the only slight. Why is he so bad? 19 goals. Is it the defense? We'll see. Uh, uh, what is this? Wow, Pavia. Okay. Maybe we'll see him in about 5 years' time when his stats are good enough. Panathinaikos, one at the rear. Cannavaro is going to do it all by himself with the help of three very, very strong players right in front of him. Patrick Pauve, apologies to Dutch people for the pronunciation, Ambrosini and Oliver Dacour. Italian and French a little bit easier. They're going to be doing quite well, I think, to stop Sloss the way that Sloss have been getting the goals. 3 games, three against Valen and 4 last time out. That's 7 in the last 2. They've really got some positive things going up front, so they'll have to be on their toes tonight. Jorgatos and Salihamidzic, hopefully for Parma providing the action down the wings. Vasiliuk and San up front. Nikiforenko right behind them. Trezeguet on the bench. It's a strong side, I think. Paul Robinson in goal. He's been doing well, Paul. Kinda, I guess. Somerset Sloths. Sticking with formation, sticking with pretty much everything. I think Jurgensen comes in for someone on the right. Selakovic was maybe injured in the last game, if I remember rightly. Vieri still on the bench. Andres D'Alessandro on the bench. Balak, he's got good players to come in. We'll see what Solari can do on the left if he comes up with the goods. That back 5 with the one at the rear that Parma has put up. It has given quite good results in the past, though. So let's kick off the first half and see if Sloth can continue their great form or if Palmer will continue his march towards the top of the table, especially now with Hoddesdon drawing. There's going to be all to play for that top spot. Asta drawing as well, of course. Although Sloths are in it. Sloths are definitely in it. Crespo with a couple of good chances. Rivaldo doing well as well. But you know what Nikiforenko, what Ebisand have done so far this season. I think they're on 5 goals each. So it could still go Parma's way, despite all these chances for the Sloths. Crespo's definitely had a lot of action. 49,999. We just need just one more person. Could they not just have grabbed someone off the street? Would you not do that if you had 49, or just take the last ticket and pretend that you'd sold it? That seems strange. Anyway, Sloss are onto I don't want to say onto a winner because it could all change in the second half, as we saw against Valen United. But they have had the most of the play, the most of the ball, the most of the chances, the most of pretty much everything. The ball's hardly been anywhere near them, and everything is down with that flat 5 in front of Palmer's goal. Cannavaro doing a 9, keeping Sloths at bay pretty much by himself. The midfield is doing 7. It's not enough if you want to win. Ebisand and Vasiliuk, they've not done enough, have they? Only 1 shot from the Dane, and it wasn't even on target. There's another Dane here who hasn't had any shots on target. He gets a 7, so that's okay, I guess. Plenty of shots from Sloths, and a good spread of the shots as well, not just coming from one guy, but they're not getting a bunch of the ball. I mean, they are up against those 5 and Cannavaro, so perhaps they are taking shots from distance. Again, it shouldn't be an excuse for not hitting the target, but we'll see what the second half brings in terms of luck for these sides. I don't know what else we can look at. We can look at how Parma's not had any shots. That's very unusual for that Parma side, I think, to not create something. Nedved as well. Come on, guys, you can do better than this, or maybe not. Maybe Sloth will just continue to control the game. We'll see in the second half. They still have that kind of weak point with Buffon at the back, though. So could Parma get one shot on target? One decent shot on target could be enough to turn it. I think Nikiforenko got a late goal for him. Was it last week? Either way, we'll see what happens in the last 25 minutes. Obviously, still all to play for with no one yet to find a way through. Could we be in for another 0-0? Nope, Nikiforenko with a late goal. Sloth trying desperately to get back in it. They did so well in the first half. They should have just taken their chances. They could have been well ahead, but it wasn't to be. And instead is Nedved. I did ask for a bit more action from him at halftime, and he's definitely delivered. So an excellent performance from Palmer there in the second half. Sloths continue to not be able to to, to hit a cow's ass with a banjo, whatever it is you guys say, something anyway that he can't hit. Terrible performance from Brosek, terrible performance from Crespo actually, just terrible from the front four. Well, they should do better, or at least hit the target. Even if they don't score, then that's poor to see. Lots of tackles at the back. Van Bronckhorst with 12 tackles and Wisp with 11. So they have done their best, obviously, to try to stop the marauding Panathinaikos players, but not really been able to be successful. We can see here how the stats picked up in the second half, completely turned it around and dominated that second half. Midfield being so strong, perhaps not getting as much action on the fullbacks as they have done in previous games. Salihamidzic and Jogatos both with sevens, perhaps less than satisfying for Parma when we consider the ambitions and the performance of the rest of the team. So yeah, a very very strong performance, and Cannavaro running away with it in central defence as well. I know he's only got 7-13. I don't know if it's because he's playing by himself or whatever, but he's very strong, and I think he's very important for that one at the rear setup that Palmer's got going on there. Let's see how the goals came. They were close to the end. Was it Nikiforenko? Buffon could only parry it, and Nikiforenko collected the ball, had the chance, and found the net. Buffon again not covering himself in glory. Vesiyuk with a good run here. He went past Jorgensen, which is no surprise as he's not a defender. Cross from the left, and Nedved headed the ball towards goal. Wonderful Panathinaikos moves, so that's pretty good. Buffon, is it the captaincy that's bringing him down? He has got the strong influence, but yet again, it's not a good performance from Buffon, dropping the ball there for Nikiforenko to tuck home that first goal. Palmer will be happy. Paul Robinson, he gets a clean sheet. Everybody wins. Well, Palmer wins. And that's it, basically. That rounds up the results for the evening. RC Celtic with a strong 3-0 win at home against Midlothian. Back to the often mentioned drawing board for Ian and his away tactics. Aston Valen fought out a 0-0. I think a lot of yellow cards for Valen, not so many for Alf. I think Matsurazi got one, but he could probably do with starting on one, basically. A little bit disappointing, the result there, and the game in general. Bolton Phoenix with a strong 2-0 based on a strong second half performance. Swindon much improved, but unfortunately lacking a bit of firepower up front. Kluivert failing to hit the target. Chudley Cannons 1-1. Apparently there could have been a substitution made in the second half. I'm not sure what that would have mattered, but either way, Rossini was very, very dominant. Mark Kerr, maybe. I'll take that on me if there was a sub that should have been made there. Hardest and Hornets. They'll take the draw. I think we did the right thing in playing defensive for them. They're still top of the table, as we can see here first. Churchtown 1-1 with Hooligans. Not the best game, not the best performance from either side. The second half definitely let a lot of neutrals down. Would have expected more from that. All of the goals in the action came in what I think was the game of the evening, certainly the most entertaining one. We had Dragon Destroyers who were ahead and were behind and finished 4-3 winners against BTEC. BTEC conceding goals pretty much for fun at this current moment of time, and Dragons getting above them in the table now as well. And Parma up to second. Let's have a look at the table. This is how it stands. It's not getting any less tight at the top, to be honest. Now there's only 6 points behind between first and 10th. I think it was between second and 8th before the game. So it's actually tightened up even more after 9 games than it was what it was before. Hornets out in front with a good result. Panathinaikos, another good result for them. Both teams are on 19 points, closely followed by Astra and Valen, Hooligans and Midlothian. So Midlothian staying in there. But bear in mind that they have won the 5 home games and lost the 4 away games. So hardly a fantastic performance. But you got to win your home games. Panathinaikos with 5. You can see what it means to them as well. And if we look down at the bottom, Sloss have won 1 at home, Swindon have got a point at home, so that's where they've picked up some points. Looking at away, Swindon no points away from home, BTEC no points away from home, Ardsley, Midlothian, um, Sluss with 1. Uh, and perhaps surprisingly, Panathinaikos only with 4 points away from home, same as Bolton. Teams who have done well at home are particularly Astor with 9 points away from home, which is an impressive performance, and Kieran's Churchtown as well. So yeah, that's how the league looks. If we're looking at the player stats, Lee Boyer keeps his place at the top of the table. We've got Patrick Poway, Cafu, Sambrota, Placente is another Astor player. But if you remember, just a couple of weeks ago, the top 6 was full of Astor players. I think the top 6, 5 of them were Astor players. Of the top 6 now, there's only 2. Fair enough, Zanetti is just below it, but there are definitely some changes coming here, especially the Panathinaikos players doing really well here. A little bit surprising to see such defensive players up there. Normally it's all the strikers getting all the rewards and the plaudits and all the glory, but yeah, there's some decent defensive performances in here. Sand's still up there despite his kind of terrible performance tonight. Who's having all the shots? Diego Tristan. So Arsenal managed even without him. Good news for them. Boyer and Smith, no goals for Astor today. Danielson is doing really well. He's perhaps BTEC's most important, or certainly, yeah, I think most important player at the time. 9 games, 5 goals and 3 assists. There's not many better players with better performance than him in the league at the moment. If you're looking at the dribbles, it's still Zidane, but yeah, Brosek as well, Tomadera. There is some good dribblers there. Robbie Keane back in there, 5 games, 5 goals. I know they're only on 2 goals. You can see them here. There's the 9 and the 10. That's where he scored his goals. But again, he's super fast. He knows where the goal is. He gets it done for Jamie. And considering the options that he has in that AMC role, it's a vitally important for the Dragons that Keane really controls that role. Tackles, I just want to see Roy Keane on top of the pile. Nesta, kind of getting in there. Maldini, there's a few people picking it up now. Roy Keane's still way ahead. Nesta passing the ball well. I'm not sure. There's so many, 84, 82%. It doesn't really matter who's in there. The games awards of man of the match. Pauve's got the most. Rossini and Tiago. There's a couple of people with 2. What else do we want to see? Was there any red cards? Nothing to add. No one with 2 red cards yet. Assists, it's Cafu leading that table. Vasiliuk, very important for Panathinaikos and his success, with 5 for Cafu, 4 for Vasiliuk. Boyer, Ferguson. Ferguson, someone that Kieran desperately wants back, I think. Penalty takers, Veron now 2 for 2 on penalties. Totti 2 for 1. Tristan 2 for 1. Which is missing penalties is never a good look, is it? I mean, no one wants to see that. Appearances, there's a lot of players that have played 9 games. Let's just keep it at that. Fixtures for next week, which will be on I want to say the 17th. The 17th of November. There will be no manager interaction as of midnight tonight until next Saturday. I will be out of action, so there'll be no chairman interaction in that period, unfortunately. But you'll have your packs and you'll just be able to send them in as normal. But I won't be answering questions. I won't be taking phone calls. I won't be doing anything until next Saturday evening, where I will try to get everything consolidated and up and ready for round 10. We see yeah, well pointed out, Tim. It did that. It does that until I press continue. Everyone's in 10th place. We had the same issue last week. BTEC are at home to Asta Athletic, who clearly aren't in 15th. So we'll see if BTEC can turn it around. They definitely need to start picking up more home points if they can't pick up away points. Bolton Phoenix against Panathinaikos, Ryan against Parma is a game we like to see. Ryan is going well with his Bolton side, Parma going well. They are 2 informed teams. That'll be an interesting one. Chudley at home again, so Tim welcomes Churchtown to his ground. We'll see. Rossini is on fire at the moment. Maybe if we make that substitution that should have been made at halftime today, maybe that'll change things. Hornets are at home to Ardsley. This is a difficult one for Ardsley, the way Hornets are going. Very, very strong, difficult to break down. But Ardsley did good tonight, and they do have a strong side. Maybe Tristan will be back. That'll be important for them if he can play with Hussein and they can get the goals. Sloss have a decent chance again to pick up some points. They did okay tonight, but were perhaps a little bit unlucky with not taking their chances. Let's see if they'll do better against Hooligans. I mean, yes, I won't be back, but there might be some other people back. I don't think Artega's suspension was extended. I'm not sure how it works in Australia, or sorry, in the Super League, but we'll see if we'll see if anything happens. Swindon are at home to the Dragons, so this is a tricky one with Robbie Keane back on form. Let's see how that one works out. Much improved Swindon side, who definitely had one good half tonight. If they can sort out that the AMCs, I mean, is there room for Zidane in there? I think so, but we'll see. And will it make a difference? Who knows? We'll see next week out. Anyways, how they get on against the Dragon Destroyers and Robbie Keane, if he can continue his form, and if NDI can continue to score headers, then obviously Dragons don't need the strikers to score. Even though I suspect Jamie would prefer if they chipped in with just one or two, just every now and again. Very tricky away game for Midlothian. I think we can all agree that going to Sweden is not going to be easy, especially if you are incapable of winning away from home in your first four attempts. Then having your fifth attempt away to Vallen United uh, is maybe not what you were looking for or hoping for. Anyway, that concludes the action for this evening, guys. It was a little bit different. It was a lot quicker. I think I saved about 20 minutes here. It's a miracle. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the stats of some of your players. Appreciate I couldn't take quite as much time to look at notes and instructions and everything. So apologies if I missed out anything. I do try to do my best, but keeping this kind of flowing and without any awkward silences for nearly an hour and a half is not the easiest. So my apologies for that. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Have a great evening. The packs will be out shortly, and I will be back in touch in just over a week's time. Good night, everyone.